In the heart of Omaha, Nebraska, a chance encounter blossomed into a love triangle that would spiral into a chilling tale of obsession, deception, and murder. Meet Shanna Elizabeth Golyar, a woman consumed by a dangerous fixation on Dave Kroupa, a hardworking single father seeking companionship. Dave found solace in the company of Cari Farver, a vibrant and independent woman, their connection effortless and casual. But unbeknownst to Dave, this fleeting romance ignited a jealous fire in Shanna, a former flame unwilling to let go. When Carrie vanished without a trace, Dave's world plunged into a nightmarish abyss. Disturbing messages, seemingly from Carrie herself, flooded his inbox, laced with anger and accusations. These messages, spanning years, sowed seeds of fear and confusion, not only for Dave, but also for Carrie's desperate family, yearning for answers. Behind every cryptic message, a sinister truth lurked, waiting to be unearthed. As investigators delved deeper, a shocking revelation awaited, unraveling a web of deceit and revealing the true extent of Shanna's obsession. After 12 years together, Dave Kroupa and his longtime girlfriend, Amy, decided to go their separate ways in 2011. They shared 2 children, but Dave's reluctance to commit to marriage ultimately led to the relationship's end. Despite the romantic split, they remained close friends, co-parenting their children and even celebrating holidays together as a family. By the summer of 2012, Dave, a bit rusty at dating, decided to dip his toes back into the pool of romance. He signed up for a few online dating sites, seeking casual connections and fun, not commitment. His life revolved around his job at Hyatt Tire and his children. He wanted to find women who shared his laid-back approach to relationships. He turned to Plenty of Fish, an online dating website where he met Liz Golyar. Shanna Elizabeth Golyar, known as Liz, entered a life of hardship from her very first days. Born Shanna Kay on June 28, 1975, in Michigan, her early years were marked by chaos and heartache. Her mother, trapped in an abusive relationship with Liz's father, a man with a troubling history, including a 1967 conviction for indecent liberties with a child, had already lost custody of 2 children. Liz's father was an ex-convict who subjected her mother to daily abuse, and, despite her mother's efforts, their lives remained tumultuous. When Liz was still a toddler, her younger brother was born. Soon after, the ongoing abuse in the household led to Liz and her baby brother being placed in foster care, following the same fate as their older siblings. Her mother was only weeks away from reuniting with Liz and her brother in 1978 when tragedy struck. She was fatally hit by a car. With his wife gone, Liz's father spiraled, eventually drinking himself to death, leaving Liz and her siblings scattered across the foster system. Liz was eventually adopted, and her name changed to Shanna Elizabeth, but her early life left deep marks that would follow her through the years. When Dave first connected with Liz online, he was drawn to her alluring charm and eagerly arranged their first date. In 2012, they finally met in person, and sparks flew quickly, leading to an immediate physical connection. Both had children of similar ages, and Liz expressed she was on board with Dave's preference for a casual relationship where he could continue seeing other women. Liz, who ran her own housekeeping business, appeared relaxed about the arrangement, and the two began spending time together regularly, enjoying each other's company. However, despite their chemistry, Dave admitted he couldn't envision anything long-term with Liz, saying, "She wasn't well-read. I couldn't discuss current events with her." Although Liz and Dave agreed to keep things casual, Liz soon became noticeably clingy. She wanted to be with Dave more often, pressing him for details about his whereabouts on the nights they didn't spend together. Dave, who valued his independence, reminded her that they weren't exclusive, so he didn't owe her explanations. Still, he continued dating other women openly, encouraging Liz to do the same. However, Liz had already deleted her Plenty of Fish profile, telling Dave that she wasn't comfortable with dating multiple people at once. Despite feeling increasingly frustrated by Liz's clinginess, Dave continued to see her. However, he quickly noticed that Liz became upset whenever he spent time with his kids or his ex-girlfriend, Amy. He repeatedly reminded her that their relationship was casual and that he was free to do as he pleased. There were even times when he would be getting ready for a date, only for Liz to show up, insisting on sex. While Dave was always willing to oblige, he would then leave for his planned outing. Liz insisted she was fine with the arrangement, yet her actions revealed a longing for something deeper, ultimately causing Dave to distance himself. Almost 6 months into his online connection with Liz, Dave's life took an unexpected turn when he encountered Cari Farver at the auto shop where he worked. A single mother with a teenage son, Carrie had brought her vehicle in for maintenance. As they locked eyes, Dave felt an undeniable spark. "When we looked at each other, there was a little spark," he recalled. "She was showing me something inside the vehicle, and we were standing there so close. There was definitely some tension." Instantly drawn to her, Dave chose to keep his attraction to himself. Later, he stumbled upon Carrie's profile on Plenty of Fish, confirming his interest in the captivating woman he had just met. Born on November 30th, 1974, Cari Farver was a stunning and intelligent woman who made her mark as a computer programmer specializing in coding. At 37, she was not only divorced, but also a dedicated mother to her teenage son. With her beauty and sophistication, Carrie embodied the kind of woman with whom Dave could engage in meaningful conversations. When Dave stumbled upon her profile on a dating site, he sent her a message. However, it wasn't until she returned to his workplace that he gathered the courage to ask her out. To his delight, she accepted, and they arranged to meet in November 2012. As their chemistry intensified, Carrie casually mentioned that she wasn't looking for anything serious. Thrilled by their mutual understanding, Dave felt they were on the same page. But during their date, he found himself distracted by a flurry of text messages and calls from Liz Golyar. Liz insisted she needed to retrieve something she had left at his apartment immediately. Once back at his place, Dave explained the situation to Carrie, who remained remarkably unfazed by the presence of another woman in his life. After all, they had both agreed to keep things casual. While Carrie seemed unfazed, Liz was visibly shaken when she saw Carrie at Dave's apartment, reigniting her push for a committed relationship with him. This only drove Dave further away, and he began spending even more time with Carrie, whom he found not only incredibly attractive, but also intellectually engaging. Reflecting on his connection with Carrie, Dave remarked, "I felt like I hit the jackpot." Meanwhile, Liz continued to send him emails, expressing frustration over their casual setup and suggesting they should pursue something more serious after investing months in their relationship. However, Dave was firm. He didn't want a monogamous commitment with Liz, though he was open to keeping things physical. He wasn't about to stop seeing Carrie or anyone else just for Liz's sake. As things progressed, Dave invited Carrie to stay over a few nights each week. Living in Iowa but working in Nebraska, Carrie's commute was an hour each way. When tasked with a major project at work, Dave offered her his apartment for convenience, given its proximity to her office. He enjoyed her company and was happy to have her stay for a few days without either pushing for more than a relaxed, enjoyable arrangement. Carrie, for her part, seemed content with this, appreciating both the closeness to work and the easygoing nature of their time together. On the morning of November 13th, 2012, Dave headed to work, giving Carrie a goodbye kiss and planning to see her later that day. Dave was taken aback when he received a text from her that morning saying she wanted them to move in together. The message was completely unexpected, especially since they'd previously agreed that moving in wasn't a good idea. Dave replied, clarifying that he wasn't ready to take that step, but her response stunned him even more. She fired back with hostility, claiming she hated him and was seeing someone else, insisting she never wanted to see him again. The text was filled with anger and profanity, unlike the easygoing, friendly woman he'd gotten to know. When Dave returned home that evening, he was a bit relieved to see Carrie had left. After a couple of quiet days, though, the messages resumed, but now with even more bitterness. She accused him of ruining her life and called him a terrible person. Dave couldn't shake the feeling that he'd just sidestepped a potentially messy situation, so he brushed it off and moved on, grateful for the close call. After Dave and Carrie's sudden breakup, his phone lit up with a steady stream of aggressive texts and emails from her. The messages were far from friendly, and some specifically targeted the other women Dave was dating, calling them whores and reserving extra venom for Liz, the woman Carrie had met. Liz wasn't spared either. Soon, she too began receiving disturbing messages that called her a fat, ugly whore and included other nasty slurs. Some texts even threatened Liz to stay away from Dave or face consequences. Liz reached out to Dave, letting him know about the harassment, and Dave admitted he was also receiving hostile messages from Carrie. Feeling partly responsible for the situation Liz was now in, Dave apologized to her and, as a gesture, promised to spend more time together. Liz pushed for a standing arrangement, and eventually, Dave agreed to dedicate every Wednesday night to her. At the same time, Carrie's mother, Nancy Rainey, started to worry about her daughter's sudden disappearance. Carrie had been diagnosed with depression in her late 20s and bipolar disorder shortly after the birth of her son, Max. She'd been in therapy and was on medication for these conditions, although there were times she'd stopped taking it, saying it made her feel numb. However, by the time she began dating Dave in 2012, Carrie seemed to be doing well, thriving in a job she loved, with Max settling happily in high school. So it was strange when Nancy began receiving uncharacteristic text messages from her daughter, one claiming she'd taken a new job in Kansas. Confused by this behavior and worried for Carrie's well-being, Nancy tried to reach her by phone but couldn't get through. When Carrie missed her half-brother's wedding and didn't show up to host her best friend's baby shower, Nancy's concern deepened. She could no longer ignore the unusual behavior and, fearing the worst, reported her daughter missing. When Carrie's mother reported her missing to the police, they responded as one might expect after learning Carrie was bipolar and on medication. Authorities seemed to dismiss her as someone likely off her meds and acting irrationally. This left Nancy frustrated, as she felt the police no longer took Carrie's disappearance seriously. Since there's no law against an adult leaving by choice, they didn't aggressively pursue her case. While Nancy searched tirelessly for her daughter, Dave was bombarded by hundreds of harassing messages from Carrie, filled with threats that he'd suffer and claims that they were meant to be together. But Carrie's anger wasn't only aimed at Dave. A large part of it focused on Liz Golyar, his former girlfriend, whom Carrie had briefly encountered in Dave's apartment hallway. Soon, the messages escalated to vile, threatening notes aimed at both Dave and Liz. One day, Liz called Dave, furious. Her garage had been spray-painted with "whore from Dave" on the inside, and she'd discovered some checks from an old account had been stolen. Unable to calm her anger, Dave understood her frustration and filed a police report, hoping it would end the harassment. That night, he received an email from Carrie, brazenly admitting she had been the one to vandalize Liz's property. Over the following weeks, Carrie's absence grew more troubling. She missed her birthday, her son's 15th birthday, Thanksgiving, and even her father's funeral, yet her messages kept coming. Dave, Liz, and Carrie's mother continued to receive texts, leaving her family increasingly convinced that something was terribly wrong. Despite Nancy's pleas for Carrie to call, there was only silence on the other end. Meanwhile, Carrie's son Max also began receiving strange messages from his mother, promising she would return from Kansas to pick him up. Promises that never came to pass. The messages soon took on a harsh tone, with Carrie lashing out at her mother, accusing her of being a controlling parent and insisting on being left alone. Nancy was alarmed by the uncharacteristic tone and the sloppy grammar, something Carrie, known for her meticulous spelling, would never overlook. Dave noticed the same. Not only were the texts laced with hate, but now he felt he was being watched. One night, while relaxing in his recliner, a text arrived describing his exact actions and outfit. His unease grew, while Nancy suspected these messages weren't from Carrie at all, as the rageful tone didn't match her daughter's gentle personality. In a bizarre turn, Carrie's supervisor received a resignation letter, claiming that Carrie recommended a friend named Shanna Golyar to replace her. When Liz Golyar did apply, she was denied the job due to lack of qualifications. Police, meanwhile, focused their efforts on stopping the harassment of Liz and Dave rather than investigating Carrie's disappearance, which they viewed as voluntary. They began tracing the signals from Carrie's phone, but with no firm belief that she was in danger, their focus remained elsewhere. In January 2013, while driving home, Dave spotted Carrie's Ford Explorer parked in a nearby lot. He quickly snapped a photo of the license plate and forwarded it to the Omaha Police Department. Officers arrived to inspect the vehicle, but found only a single fingerprint on a mint container, which they couldn't match to Carrie or anyone else in their system. As the weeks passed with no further leads, Carrie's mother, Nancy Rainey, grew increasingly desperate. Her hopes were briefly lifted by a call from someone claiming they had seen Carrie at a homeless shelter and that she wanted her mother to come pick her up. Nancy rushed over, but Carrie was nowhere to be found, leaving her devastated. 6 months into Carrie's disappearance, her son Max tried messaging her on Facebook, hoping for a reply. To his surprise, he received a brief response, but it was cold and impersonal. To be certain it was her, he asked 3 questions only his mother would know. He waited, but no other messages came. Dave and Liz continued to see each other on and off, even as the relentless flood of harassment messages from Carrie showed no signs of stopping. Often, they'd be sitting side by side on the couch, only to receive simultaneous hostile texts and emails from Carrie. One alarming message sent to Dave alone even threatened Liz's life, accompanied by a photo of a woman resembling her, bound in the trunk of a car. Shocked, Dave called Liz, who brushed it off with a laugh, insisting she was fine. But things took an eerie turn when Dave later received a link to a fake obituary for Liz. In August 2013, the situation escalated when Liz's house mysteriously caught fire, tragically killing her 2 dogs, a cat, and a snake. Fire investigators suspected arson, and Liz pointed fingers at Carrie. Feeling the threat was closing in, Dave purchased a 9mm Smith & Wesson for protection. He soon found himself constantly on edge as bizarre incidents unfolded. His auto shop was vandalized, and in January 2014, an old friend, Heather Twett, was at his apartment when his phone erupted with furious messages from Carrie. Moments later, someone rattled his door handle, yet no one was there when he checked. Finally, as he and Twett tried to sleep, a brick came crashing through his window. The harassment spread even further, reaching Dave's ex-girlfriend Amy, the mother of his 2 children, who also began receiving threatening messages from Carrie. Despite this 2.5-year campaign of terror, Carrie herself remained a ghost, never seen or heard from in person. In May 2015, detectives paid a visit to Nancy Rainey, Carrie's mother, bringing news that ignited a flicker of hope within her. They revealed their belief that Carrie wasn't merely missing by choice. Something sinister had likely occurred. This was the first time Nancy felt that genuine effort was being directed toward locating her daughter. As they conversed, she shared a crucial detail that hadn't surfaced in the initial investigation. When Carrie vanished in 2012, she had sent Nancy a text claiming she sold all her furniture, asking her to let the buyer into the house to collect it. Along with the message, Carrie had sent a photo of a check made out to her, signed by Liz. While this revelation didn't explain Carrie's disappearance, it raised alarming questions about Liz's involvement. With this new lead, detectives were able to match the lone fingerprint found in Carrie's vehicle to Liz, tightening the net around her as the investigation deepened. By December 2015, it had been 3 long years since Cari Farver had vanished from her family's life. Despite her absence, the relentless harassment of Liz and Dave showed no signs of abating. The police began to question the rationale behind such a prolonged obsession from someone who had only briefly dated Dave. Why would a woman they barely knew stalk him and his ex-girlfriend for years? The situation felt increasingly illogical. Amidst this turmoil, detectives Ryan Avis and Jim Doty from the Pottawatomie County Sheriff's Office in Council Bluffs, Iowa, took a keen interest in the perplexing case, fueled by conversations they had overheard in the department. They decided on a dual approach. Doty would investigate as if Carrie were deceased, while Avis would examine the possibility that she was still alive and orchestrating the harassment. One striking detail quickly caught their attention. Carrie's checking account had shown no activity since her disappearance. For a woman with a stable job, a nice home, and a teenage son, it seemed implausible that she would simply vanish without touching her funds. Already, Avis harbored a sinking suspicion that Carrie was likely not alive. Meanwhile, Doty focused on Liz, whose presence in Carrie's life only emerged after her disappearance. It struck him as bizarre that someone would target a near stranger for such an extended period. Yet Liz's name was prominently featured in the harassment reports, marking her as a person of interest in Doty's eyes. Given that all interactions with Carrie had occurred through digital channels, the detectives enlisted the help of Anthony Carver, a digital forensics administrator in their department. They had previously obtained the contents of Dave and Liz's phones, downloaded in 2013 for the original investigators, and handed this information over to Carver for a deeper analysis. Carver unearthed a startling revelation. The individual behind the relentless harassment had bombarded Dave with approximately 15,000 emails over 3 years. Additionally, the staggering number of texts ranged between 25,000 and 50,000. As this digital onslaught continued, the perpetrator, now suspected to be someone other than Cari Farver, began to take precautions to shield their identity and IP address. One significant piece of evidence that caught the detectives' attention was a photograph of Carrie's Ford Explorer discovered within Liz's phone data. The metadata revealed that this image had been captured roughly a month before Dave alerted the authorities about the vehicle's location. The question loomed: how had Liz known about the car before the police did, and why had she remained silent about it? Adding to the intrigue, investigators found that Liz had made 6 calls to Carrie's residence, employing the *67 prefix to conceal her number. This behavior was particularly peculiar, considering she had barely exchanged words with Carrie just moments in a hallway. The investigation also uncovered the infamous photo of a woman tied up in the trunk, which had previously been sent to Dave, alongside a video of someone lurking outside his apartment. Curiously, this video had been uploaded to Carrie's YouTube account, but the IP address was traced back to Liz's residence. Amidst these unsettling discoveries, Dave realized that the 9mm pistol he had purchased for protection was missing, and promptly reported it to the police as stolen. The web of deception was becoming increasingly tangled, and the stakes were rising. On December 4th, 2015, just as the detectives were formulating a discreet plan to approach Liz without raising any suspicions about their growing doubts, she unexpectedly walked into the Pottawatomie County Sheriff's Office to lodge yet another harassment complaint. This time, her accusations were aimed at Dave's ex-girlfriend, Amy Flora. The detectives allowed her to file her complaint, but they soon visited her home under the guise of following up on her claims. Liz confidently asserted that she was now convinced Amy had been the one sending her the threatening messages all along, not Carrie. When the detectives requested to download the contents of her phone for further investigation, they were taken aback when she willingly handed it over. During their discussion, Liz casually mentioned that she was aware of Dave's stolen 9mm Smith & Wesson and suggested that Amy might have been the thief. However, sensing she might have crossed a line by revealing this information, she quickly became evasive when pressed for more details. The very next day, Liz dialed 911, claiming she had been shot in the leg while taking a solitary walk in Big Lake Park, Council Bluffs. Initially, she stated she didn't know who had shot her, but later, she shifted the blame to Amy. Given their conversation less than 24 hours earlier, the detectives found her story dubious and suspected that she had inflicted the injury on herself in an attempt to frame Amy, who was cleared of any wrongdoing that same day. Meanwhile, at the station, Carver was deep into analyzing the data from Liz's second cell phone. What he uncovered was shocking. Liz had created over 24 fake email accounts, each one a twisted variation of Cari Farver's name. Additionally, he discovered she had been using a scheduler to time her messages perfectly, allowing her to flood both her and Dave's phones with venomous texts, even while sitting right next to him. This meticulous planning was a key reason why Dave had never considered Liz as a potential source of the harassment. Carver estimated that Liz had dedicated an astonishing 40 to 50 hours each week to maintaining this elaborate facade, pretending to be Cari Farver. 2 weeks after Liz's shooting incident, detectives summoned her for yet another round of questioning. Oblivious to the fact that she had become their main suspect, Liz continued to insist that Amy was the mastermind behind the harassment and threats. The detectives, playing along, expressed their belief in her story and sought her assistance in coaxing a confession from Amy regarding Cari Farver's disappearance. Liz, eager to prove her point, fabricated emails she claimed were from Amy to present to the police. The detectives skillfully maintained their facade, even when they received messages purportedly from Amy in which she confessed to shooting Liz at Big Lake Park. With an unsettling sense of control, they urged Liz to ask Amy, whom they suspected was Liz herself, about the details surrounding Carrie's death. Liz eagerly complied, soon forwarding an email she alleged was from Amy. In it, She described how Carrie had been stabbed 3 to 4 times and disposed of in a garbage bag. However, frustration mounted for Liz as days passed without any arrest of Amy. The detectives, keenly aware of the manipulations at play, informed her they needed more concrete details, information only the actual killer could provide. Hours later, they received additional emails from Amy, claiming that Carrie had been brutally murdered in her car. Despite having previously searched the vehicle, the detectives decided to conduct a deeper examination. As they peeled back the fabric of the passenger seat, they discovered a red stain that was later confirmed to be Carrie's blood. With this shocking revelation, investigators concluded that the murder likely took place in Omaha, prompting them to enlist the help of the Omaha Police Department. Cold case homicide detective Dave Schneider joined the team, ready to unravel the web of deceit surrounding Cari Farver's disappearance. At this critical juncture, Detective Schneider brought Liz in for a formal interrogation regarding Cari Farver's mysterious disappearance. Confronted with a mounting pile of evidence against her, Liz steadfastly denied any knowledge of Carrie's fate or the menacing messages that followed. She even went so far as to claim that she didn't have internet service at her residence. While the detectives probed Liz at the station, officers executed a search warrant at her home. What they uncovered was shocking: a digital camera and a camcorder belonging to Carrie, suggesting that Liz had pilfered them from her house. Among the haunting footage found on the camcorder was a video of Carrie herself, documenting the vandalism to her car, time-stamped just 2 days before her abrupt disappearance. The evidence was piling up, leaving the detectives more convinced than ever that Liz was at the center of this twisted case. On December 22, 2016, Liz was taken into custody and charged with first-degree murder. Douglas County Attorney Brenda Beadle voiced her concerns about the extraordinary challenges of prosecuting such a convoluted case. Who harasses multiple victims for years while masquerading as someone they've killed? Who sets fire to their own home with pets trapped inside? Who resorts to shooting themselves in the leg as part of this twisted narrative? The case's bizarre details seemed almost too strange to be true. Defense attorney James Martin Davis shared similar apprehensions about presenting the case to a jury. Opting for a bench trial instead, he sought a judge's discretion over a jury's judgment, arguing that the prosecution had little to stand on. There was no body, no crime scene, and no murder weapon. He claimed there was no definitive evidence proving that Carrie was even deceased. After the trial's conclusion, he disclosed that the decision to waive a jury trial was motivated by a desire to resolve the case before a body could be discovered. In a shocking development, Dave recalled having a tablet stored away and decided to hand it over to investigators. With the trial looming just months away, Carver resumed his meticulous analysis, uncovering a micro SD memory card that had once belonged to Liz's phone during the time of the murder. To their astonishment, the card contained thousands of deleted images, all waiting to be recovered. Among these images, one photo initially appeared indistinct, but Carver soon realized it depicted a human foot in a state of decomposition, marked by a tattoo. The tattoo, a Chinese symbol for mother, matched the one Carrie had on her foot. Carver's stomach churned as he grasped the grim implications. Liz had not only murdered Carrie, but had also taken photos of her lifeless body. During the trial, Beadle painted a portrait of Liz as diabolical and cruel, emphasizing how she had brutally killed Carrie and subsequently spent years tormenting others under the guise of the deceased. In contrast, Davis countered that all the evidence presented was purely circumstantial, reminding the court that without a body, there was no definitive proof of Carrie's death. In 2017, Judge Timothy Burns delivered a decisive blow to Liz's defense, rejecting all arguments and declaring her guilty of first-degree murder. He sentenced her to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole, along with an additional 20 years for second-degree arson, having found her culpable for setting her rental home ablaze. Liz promptly filed an appeal, but it was swiftly denied. Today, she resides in the Nebraska Correctional Center for Women, still proclaiming her innocence and asserting that the true killer of Cari Farver remains at large. Despite the passage of time, Carrie's body has never been recovered, and the chances of the cold-hearted murderer disclosing its whereabouts seem slim. While the mystery of what transpired in Carrie's final moments may never be fully unraveled, one fact stands undeniably clear. Liz Golyar is the one responsible for her death. One night, while Carrie was still missing, her mother had a poignant dream featuring her late ex-husband, Carrie's father. In the dream, he reassured her with a gentle message, "Carrie is with me." This vision brought some comfort to her mother, who longs for her daughter to be remembered not for the tragedy that befell her, but as the vibrant, talented and intelligent woman she truly was. In honor of Carrie's legacy, the Cari Farver Memorial Scholarship was established through the Pottawatomie County Community Foundation. This scholarship offers support to students pursuing degrees in information technology, ensuring that Carrie's spirit of ambition and creativity continues to inspire future generations. The truth, like a long-buried secret, finally emerged from the shadows. For years, Carrie's family had endured the agonizing uncertainty of her disappearance, their hearts heavy with grief and unanswered questions. The revelation of Shanna Golyar's twisted scheme, her years of deception and manipulation, brought a bittersweet sense of closure. Shanna's reign of terror, built on a foundation of jealousy and obsession, was finally over. Her conviction brought a measure of justice for Carrie and a glimmer of peace for those who loved her. Dave Kroupa, forever marked by the ordeal, lives with the haunting memory of those dark years, a stark reminder of how easily a nightmare can engulf one's life. Carrie's family and friends cherish her memory, remembering her vibrant spirit and unwavering love. Her story stands as a chilling testament to the dangers of unchecked obsession, urging us to be vigilant, aware, and courageous in the face of dangerous relationships. Though shrouded in darkness and heartbreak, the story of Shanna Golyar, Dave Kroupa, and Cari Farver also speaks to the resilience of truth and the enduring strength of love. May Carrie's memory live on, her story a beacon of hope and a powerful reminder that even in the face of unimaginable tragedy, the light of truth can ultimately prevail. If you found this video compelling, leave a like and your thoughts in the comments. Be sure to subscribe and watch our other videos.